The one manager, he was only there for like 3 months, but he was Delulu. And he had a thing for one of the front desk agents. And then he tried to bang all the front desk agents. And then he explained the underwear. He's like, it's just because, like, seeing that just makes me think I have to prove my point. I'm like...
Yeah, because you're the cuck. Hi, welcome to the Inhospitality Podcast. I'm your host, Tye Justis, and today we're talking with Cinda Akers. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I moved to LA about like 7 years ago. Started at Mastro's Steakhouse. Was there for about 3.5 years, and I met a friend there who, after the pandemic, hit me up and was like, hey, we're looking for people to, work front desk at the Roosevelt. She's like, there's commission. So I was like, okay, I'm down.
The commissions.
The commission.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and it was like enough. I was like, you know what? It sounds like a good gig. It was way more money than I was making before. Yeah. So I hopped on board, and that's how I ended up at the Roosevelt.
Oh, very nice. The famous Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel was actually my second hotel. And this is only because the pandemic stopped me working at my first hotel, which was Sofitel in Beverly Hills, owned by a big French conglomerate with a lot of great training. How did I end up at the Roosevelt? I think I was just blind submitting after a while because I'd started in hotels. I looked in hotels because I had an ex-girlfriend that actually worked at the Beverly Hilton, I think. Oh. And I was just like, God dang it. I needed a new computer. My computer was dying. And literally every time I turned it on, I'm like, is it going to explode? And then I needed like more camera equipment because I wanted to do things like this, lighting and all that stuff gets very pricey. So I'm like, I need a second job. So I asked her, they weren't hiring at her hotel, but she called me about a week later. She's like, my friend says at his hotel they're hiring. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. We'll see. I'll see that. And it was like a long shot, but I mentioned his name, got in. I had to interview 4 times, and I came from healthcare and knew nothing about hotels, and it just seemed like a very difficult process. And then even after that, it took them a month to call me back. They're like, yeah, you can come on board, because the head of rooms at the time wanted to have a full staff. So they finally called me up. I met with the front desk supervisor, front desk manager, the head of rooms, and the head of HR, who is now universally hated throughout the industry, because now I work at a union hotel. And for some reason, she's worked at every hotel I've worked at, but at different times. Sofitel was the only time we worked together. We'll just call her the Dragon Lady.
She's the dragon.
Oh my God. And she was someone that's described as an individual who would cut your throat with silk. And me actually crossing her and kind of like pissing her off is what endeared me to my crew. That's when they're kind of like, oh, this guy's cool. And I'll tell this story real quick. Once I was in the food and beverage section of the hotel, or the kitchen area and room service, which is away from the guests and all that. And we have service elevators back there. We did it at Sofitel. And a friend of mine was in the service elevator with another server, and he said, blah, 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 and shit like that. And then she walked into the elevator and she goes, and what like that? And he goes, oh, stuff. I'm sorry. I meant stuff. And I was just getting in for my shift, and I walk past and I go, oh, we can't say shit anymore? Right as the doors closed. And
you always be witty with your shit. You always a witty.
Always in the front of the wrong people, though, it seems. But no, I appreciate that. And she, apparently, he told me, like, they went, huh! And they had to keep in a laugh, and they just looked at each other. She was trying to hit the open button, just to try to get that thing, like, to open up to come get me. And I'm trying, and they just closed. The doors just closed on them all. And I felt bad because I trapped them in there with her without knowing it. But I just thought she wouldn't, like, I thought she'd laugh. You know what I mean? I didn't realize she was as uptight as she was. She followed me back. She's like, she followed me into the back room to talk to me right as I was walking, to get to work. And she took me in the back office, manager's office. She's like, that was, she was really hot about it too. She was really heated, and she's like, that was inappropriate and that was offensive. I'm like, I'm sorry you felt offended by that. And because I just thought it was ridiculous. She was making such a big deal about it.
It is ridiculous.
And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. I'm sorry you were offended by that. But the more I refused to say, I'm sorry I was wrong, and just said, I'm sorry I offended you. I'm sorry you felt that way. She just kind of she's like, this is going to go on your permanent record. I'm like, That's fine. That's okay. I'm like, yeah, right. I really want to.
Oh my God.
I know. Oh.
I can't sleep at night.
I know. How will I ever live? And she just stormed out, and then nothing more came of it. But even my managers are like, yeah, that was funny, but he should know not to do that in front of HR and the head of HR. And everybody was like, that was hilarious, but you probably shouldn't have done it in front of her. I'm like, yeah, I know. But then after, a friend of mine who helped me later on in security, he's like, okay, he cool. He's like this slick Chicano, and he actually went to the Roosevelt.
Oh, shit. Afterwards?
It was a huge surprise after, and we ended up there around the same time. He was there a little before us, right before us in security, and he might still work there, so I can't mention his name unless he wants to come on the show.
Afterwards, tell me who.
Yeah, I'll whisper into your ear.
Okay.
I'm sure you know him too.
I know. I'm like
great guy, real laid back, chill. But he's like, all right, cool. But he's just, he's suspicious. You got to earn his trust. But after that, everybody's like, okay, Tye's cool. He's willing to F up and get fired. We like him. So
he's
that kind of
willing to get fired.
That was like my saving grace. But yeah, that was kind of how that all went about. But yeah, so how did you start at the Roosevelt specifically? Like when they hired you, what was the process?
I definitely interviewed with, I want to say 3 people, HR, the assistant GM at the time, and then the front office manager.
Okay.
And I would say that HR was like kind of the only one who was just kind of like, they weren't even weird about it. Like everybody else though, like the front office manager and the assistant general manager, they were like, oh, you know her? Oh, okay, we love her, so we know that you're gonna be good.
The person that recommended you.
Yeah. They're like, you're good, like, and then you know what? I did interview with the GM.
Oh.
Yeah, so he brought me into his office.
Oh, jeez.
Cut. He brought me in and he was just kind of like, oh, so you worked at Mastro's before? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, why are you trying to switch from restaurants to hotel? Like, why would you not want to stay in restaurants?
Because Mastro's, just so people know, Mastro's is a very, very fancy, elegant steakhouse in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, if you know Mastro's.
Yeah, it's
Mastro's.
She means it's pricey.
So I was just kind of like, I'm always open to learning new things, and the person who brought me in, I was like, she says this is a really good gig, and I know that she's gonna train me well, and I'm a fast learner. I can catch on really quick. So he was just like, okay, for sure. And then he was just like, leave.
You may leave my presence.
You may leave my lair.
Oh my God. Well, at least you got out unscathed.
Yeah.
No, when we were there, we saw very little of him, of the GM, which was, probably for the better. I mean, GMs usually, they're usually involved behind the scenes. There's always 2 kinds of GMs: ones that are hyperactive and involved in everything, or the guys that are just like, don't bother me. And then they're surprised when they don't know what's going on. That's what would shock me about him, is he's like, oh, why is this going on? Well, dude, you're not involved. You don't know what's going on to the day to day because you don't want to bother yourself with it. That's why this is happening. You gotta get more involved, man. But he liked the glitz and the glamour of it, I think. But
he loved the glitz and the glamour.
He did love the glitz and the glamour.
Like he used and abused that shit.
The Hollywood Roosevelt was a complete cluster when it came to the management, when it came to how things were handled.
You got bent over
all the time.
No protection.
No, you had to with sandpaper. And no lube. It was so insane. That's that drove me up the wall, was just the lack of organization and just how bad it was, and how that fell on us all the time because we had to fix their mistakes because they didn't give a shit.
Oh yeah, we were the face of the company, so like all the guests took it out on you.
Yeah. Which happens in hospitality in general, but they would mess people over so badly and so severely and so often.
There's like sometimes we would call it out though. We'd be like, yo, shouldn't we be doing this shit? And then they're like, oh, we're working on it. We're working on it.
They weren't working on it.
Nobody's working on it.
Working on it. They weren't doing anything of the sort.
Yo, let's get one thing straight though. The GM. I felt like he had it out for me. Like,
for you personally?
Yeah. Like, one, he would talk shit about my eyelashes. Okay. Oh. And we know how Cinda was about her eyelashes. Like,
these are the tame. She had eyelashes that touched her eyebrows.
Like, I used to have the batty like eyelashes.
What do they call them? Do they call them something specific? Like when they're that long? Is there like a term?
They're probably about the 22, 25 millimeters, you know?
Yeah.
If you know anything about eyelashes, you know what I'm saying.
For our camera people out there, it's a little different, but
but yeah, those are the ones that are touching my eyebrows basically. And after like a week though, like they would tone down and all of a sudden he wouldn't be talking shit. And then I know he was like making comments. He'd be like, I saw Cinda drinking water at the front desk. Like,
oh, they had such a problem with that.
dude, they had such a problem with me drinking water at the front desk. So,
and we were on risers at the Roosevelt. Just so people know, you're on a foot high platform, so you're always taller than everybody else. People can't see what your hands are doing, and if you take a sip real quick, you know.
I always ducked down. Like I always like went below the thing, but
yeah, that's right.
But he probably was like, "That's tacky."
Like, well, look, dude, like, nobody knows anyway. But
I'm like, nobody's seeing. It's not like I'm like, oh, hold on one moment, like.
I know. Well,
just drinking in front of the guests.
It could have been worse. We could have been drunk all the time like the managers were. Most of the managers, not all, but most of them were sauced to high heaven, 7 sheets to the wind.
This is true.
That blew my mind. Again, when I came from Sofitel originally, and like whenever you come from a company that's highly trained, and I'm glad too. I'm glad I came from that because the contrast amazed me because at Sofitel, you know, the GM would literally stand at the desk at the side of the desk and watch each and every agent to make sure you didn't put your hands in your pocket, and they would threaten to sew your pants shut, which is a whole other story.
Oh wait, they was blocking the,
like they were literally like, you
blocking the tips.
No,
is that what they was?
Not the tips.
Okay.
No, they were fine with that. They just wanted to make sure you presented well, which meant, you know, you stand
no
up.
hands in the pocket.
Yeah, no hands in the pockets. No, they were fine with that. Don't ask, don't tell. But foul. No, they just wanted to make sure you presented well. You weren't on your phones ever. Even if you were helping a guest, they're like, what are you doing on your phone? I'm like, we're checking the Wi-Fi, man, because it's out. We wanted to make sure. And it was true.
Yeah.
And people would ask you to Google things, and they blocked the computers to where you could basically Google, but you couldn't do any social media sites. You couldn't really shop. You couldn't do anything like that. And every other hotel, all the girls are always shopping online. I'm just like, what are you doing?
I would say the difference from working in Beverly Hills in general to like going to Hollywood, the hospitality levels are not going to be the same.
No. No, because a Sofitel is, like I said, it's a French hotel, so that you're trained specifically. Even the way you dress, they suit you.
It was
and
the
all
same
that.
way at Mastro's. You talk a certain way.
Yep.
You dress a certain way.
There's a script.
Don't ever.
Yeah.
If you come out, you're gone. Yep. Like, not necessarily fire they to send you home.
Yeah, until
because
you
they
learn
also
your
never
lesson.
like fire you.
Yeah, I know. That's another thing too.
Yeah.
Some people are like doing all this crazy stuff, and you're like, how are you still employed? What are you?
I'm like, isn't this your 5th write-up?
Which I never signed, by the way. That's another thing. No, but with them, it was different. But yeah, like when we got to, because you were there a few months before me. How long did you start before me at the Roosevelt?
I was only there like a month and a half before you.
Well, the thing is with the Roosevelt, and there's a lot of burnout in hospitality. No, people don't really understand how quickly people burn out of those places. Like, we went through managers like crazy.
No, I did a count I was there for a whole year. 15 managers.
15 managers.
I had 15 managers. Yeah. 2 more started a couple of days after I left. So like,
and they're gone now too, I think.
Yeah.
We still have friends that work there, and oh my God, I think they're gone. Like they still come in drunk. They still come in drunk. I got word on that too. They had to send somebody home. They keep hiring people. These are new people that come in drunk. Because it's such a grinding industry, especially if you have poor management and poor leadership. You just, I remember a manager walked past me once at the desk at the Roosevelt. I'm like, it smells like a 5th of scotch. And I turned around, and it was the manager that had gotten progressively worse in his drinking. And he had been there a couple months before us. But no, back to the burnout. We were completely new. From management at the front desk to all the agents, they all quit at the same time right before we started. So around like...
It was a whole turnaround. Yeah, like a whole turnaround.
The whole front desk, the whole front office was completely different. And it's completely different a year later because we've been gone for a little over a year, and it's a completely different front desk as well.
They don't even have a front office manager no more. Like,
oh my God.
They have these 2 like year-old managers who have never managed before running that shit. So
they were overnights, aren't they? Isn't one of them overnights?
One of them overnights. There's a couple of front desk agents that just became managers. So
that's right.
Less than a year. They're still rookies.
Oh,
they're still rookies.
But at least they did it from within, because that's the problem with a lot of hotels too. They'll hire outward and they'll come in, as opposed to moving people up from inside, like the front desk agents to supervisors to managers, because they eliminate, after the pandemic, a lot of companies eliminated the supervisor position because they wanted to save money. But instead of doing that, because the agents actually know all the bull that goes on and what needs to be done, they'll have all these outside hires that don't know what they're doing. And it just makes it for a more chaotic situation. It blows my mind how they keep doing that. But the one thing that I remember we bonded quickly because you were all about the money, about the upsells.
Oh, yeah.
And my history in upselling for people that don't know in hotels is you upgrade people's rooms for a charge. Like, oh, you want this upgrade? Do you want this suite? We'll give it to you for $100 more a night, blah, blah, blah. And the agents usually get a commission from that. So 10%, 15%, depending on where you are. And when I was at Sofitel, when they were interviewing me, they're like, oh, yeah, you could do this. And I'm like, look, I just want to learn the system and not accidentally charge people $20,000 on their Amex. That's too much.
It's scary.
Yeah, you can really, and if the reservations aren't set up properly, you can really overcharge people's cards. And if it's a European card or an Asia or someone from Asia or any of those areas, if it's out of the country and they see fraudulent charges like that, they'll block their card and they'll have no money for their stay.
And then they're screwed for like the next 24 hours. If it's a weekend, sometimes they're
48. Yeah.
Oh, they're so bad.
Yeah. So that's why it's important for like management and supervisors to be able to monitor all that, because sometimes it comes to the desk wrong. And then you'll end up really ruining people's trips and their whole experience. We've had so many experiences like that. But they told me once, the head of rooms is like, yeah, once I cut a check for $1,000 for someone who was upselling. Their commission was $1,000 for a month. And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do that. The month I started actually upselling, after 2 months of being at the Sofitel, he had to cut me a check for $1,500 because my first month working upsells, just doing upsells like strategically, I made the company $15,000 in room commission, just from standing at the front desk smiling and selling people stuff and upgrading their rooms. After that, consistently, I made the company $8,000 to $10,000, sometimes $12,000 a month for 11 months straight. Then the pandemic hit. Even in the pandemic, I upsold people until the 15th of March, 2020.
Yeah.
I had 3,000 in room upsells that they still haven't commissioned me for.
But isn't that how it always goes? The Roosevelt still owes me $500 too.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say like for the Roosevelt too, it took me like probably a month and a half to get into the game.
Yeah, but once you do, man, it pulls you in. Like I made that off a straight 10% commission on room upsells. That's it.
Yeah.
Roosevelt, you got it for walk-ins. You got it for 10% for walk-ins. You got 10% for upsells. And the hotel I'm at now is 15%.
Oh, shit.
And you sell everything there. So I'm like, all right. But by the time I got to Roosevelt, because it takes over your life. And because you had your list. Remember you had that little book?
I was checking these like you were paying me.
Yeah, you have to keep track of your stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to do that too. But it became such an obsession because what'll happen in a hotel is if you complain, if your managers aren't strong enough or they don't want to take it off the room revenue, no backbone. That's what that was. I'm like, what is she doing? No backbone. Yeah, no spine.
Yeah.
They'll take it out of the upsell because they're like, oh, well, we'll just take off the upsell, and then you lose your commission after doing all that.
I wish you would.
Try it. And I would get so about it. I mean, I'd go and check my paperwork, and I would put it in my drawer where they keep all the records of it a certain way.
I never put it in until they were about to check it.
I put it in because I would have to keep it, but I would start making copies for myself after a while.
Oh, okay.
But I would put it in a certain way to know that they're like, oh yeah, well, we didn't find the signed paper where they agreed to it. If I found it moved or twisted, I'm like, no. I put this away a certain way. Somebody touched it. You guys did find it. Stop lying to me. And they were like, Tye's being unhappy with they would have meetings about it. He's unhappy with his commissions again. And one of my supervisors, he was real cool. He was like, man, you keep complaining about this stuff, and that it's just, pick your battles. Because like, you can't complain about $5 write upsells and all that write off. I go, dude, it's not $5 upsells that they're writing off. These are $300 to $500 that they're writing off,
and multiple then saying, days.
Yeah, and they're lying to him, saying, well, these little things. Like, no, I didn't care about the little things. I'm talking about the big things you guys are screwing me over on, and that you agreed to, and then they make it sound like this big old thing. Well, it's not a sales job. Like, yeah, but they pitch it as a sales job a lot of times.
They do, because HR.
Yeah.
HR was like in the room telling me like, oh, you get 10% this, 10% that.
To hook you.
Yeah. And then 60 days later, they're like, psych.
Just kidding.
Just kidding, actually.
Well, remember they tried to change that because you found this out too. Because I didn't even know this. You found out that they were trying to change the commission schedule, or they were trying to change the percentages on us without telling us, and telling us like, oh, well, yeah, the longer the upsell lasts, for as many days, it's on a sliding scale. And we're like, no, that's not what we agreed to.
So, yeah, okay. I made a really large sale, and I knew how much like that sale was. And I went to the back and told the manager, I was like, yo, I just sold a cabana suite and the cabana room right next to it. I'm like, for like 8 days straight, both of the rooms, like as a walk-in right now. I'm so excited. Like because the cabana suites, they're like $1,000. Anyway, it was.
They could be $1,000 a night.
I was like automatically like a $1,500 check just from those 2 rooms.
And it's
plus,
after tax.
Yeah, like plus whatever like I was making else.
Yeah, because commissions are taxed like 30% in California.
Yeah.
So like you get a lot of that's going to Uncle Sam.
Yeah, you're welcome. And they still come to you at the end of the year like, you owe me $2.
I know, right? Or you go to jail.
Pay me my $2 or you're gonna go to jail.
Yet the military loses trillions, and we're like, oh.
They're like, we lost it in the ocean.
I know. Meh.
So I like walk in the back and I tell this manager, I'm like, yo, I was like, I just did this sale, and he's like, let's see how much you're gonna make. And I was like,
I know how much I'm gonna make.
Like, it's like one of those things you're like, you talking about?
Yeah, like,
and so I was like, okay, how much am I gonna make? So he pulls up this manager email. All of the managers are looped in on it, like, but none of the front desk agents.
No, of course not.
And it basically says like, if you make a sale from like 3 to like 400, you get $25. And which is like not 10%. It's not 10% at all. It's less than 10%.
Yeah, because they switch it from the model that they had set up, which is a percentage model, to just like a flat fee.
So yeah, it was at 10% of every sale, where to now it's like, a flat rate. And then it was like
$25.
$25 from like $350. Like, well, we had rooms from $289 to like probably $400. So that range was $25. From $450 to like $600, you got like $45. And then like up, it just went up from that. So he was just like, oh, you're gonna get like $45 for your sale, and every extra night is gonna be $15. I'm like,
why does that make sense? Do that math.
So I did the math, and essentially his little logic was gonna come out to, I was gonna only get paid $120 for this sale that I just made, that made them about $1,600 like on the spot.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to get $1,500, and so I was like, no. I was like, 120 to 1,500, like that's 1%. You guys cut our commission to 1%. Like, so I went and I messaged. We started a group chat then.
That's when it began.
We started a group chat.
Well, because the thing is, by the time I got to Roosevelt, I was so burned out on, because like I said, it takes over your life when you if you're going to be number one. Because I was number one, and my manager even told me, the head of rooms is like, look, people are going to be jealous. Your coworkers aren't going to like it. He goes, but keep doing it because you keep making that money. And they're going to say a lot of stuff, and they did say a lot of things. And he's like, just keep doing it because it make them a lot of money. Yeah. In a span of 11 months, I made them $94,000 in commissions. And I inspired other agents to start doing it with me. So at the end of the fiscal year, at the end of 11 months, and they'd only be doing it for like 6 or 7 months to my 11, we made the company close to $300,000 in upsells. I alone paid for my own benefits and my own salary and that of a completely other employee. So technically, they didn't even pay me for being there. But by the time I got to Roosevelt, I was so burnt out on it. I'm like, I can't keep doing this. If it comes my way, it comes my way. And then I saw you. I'm like, oh, little Tye.
Yo, no, we fought for that shit.
Yeah, and that was another battle. See, that's something I didn't have to go through before, because I'm like, this is illegal. And that's what you found out too.
Yeah, no, you do your research. Like, I was hired on this principle, They're like, oh, well, we can't find your hiring paperwork. Like, I got hired 60 days ago.
What do you mean you get? Yo, companies do that. Like, hotels do that. Oh, we lost your paperwork. Like, really? Did you? How do I work here then?
No, you didn't. You didn't. Like, I got hired 60 days ago. There's no way that shit is just gone. There's no way that the last 6 people that were hired, all of their paperwork is gone. That's ridiculous. Right. So, then they just remade the plan, and that's how we got paid. And
they kept it the same. They're like, oh, how funny. It stayed the same.
It stayed the same. But then I also had the one manager, he was only there for like 3 months, but he was Delulu. And he had a thing for one of the front desk agents. And then he tried to bang all the front desk agents. Oh, is that the one that left his stuff? Okay, so we also have perverts that come in. Yeah.
Okay, look, here's a little bit of advice. It seems like common sense. If you're looking personal things up on the front desk computers, if you're Googling odd sexual kinks, erase your browser history. My God.
Oh my God. Okay.
Explain this.
That is my favorite scenario because, like, what? Okay.
Oh my God.
So we're sitting there, and we were just, like, looking some shit up. It was me, a bellman, and the manager, the weird manager. We're going to call him the weird manager.
The weird manager, yes.
And he goes on, and he's apparently signed on his fucking Google account.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to that shit, and I see on there, it says hotwife.com. And then it also says crotchless underwears with my ex is bigger printed on it.
Oh, I remember when you told me that. Oh, it all made sense though.
Like, what are you looking up? So I was like, I didn't at first realize it was his Google account, so I'm calling it out on the spot. I'm like, who the fuck is looking this shit up?
Who's doing this?
I'm like, look what's on here. And then the bellman is kind of like, He walks away. He fucking walks away from this situation because I don't know what's going on, but I think that he knew exactly what the fuck was going on. So I like sit there, and ironically, I was the only front desk agent that showed up that day.
Yeah.
So it was only me and that manager the whole shift.
A lot of us would call off. When I finally started calling off, people were like, "Is he okay? Did he die?" No, and you know what? You found out who it was. Like, how did you know who it was? Whose Google account it was? Because he just left it up, right?
Because by guilty conscience, he told me.
Oh, because he probably figured you figured it out.
He probably was like, oh, she knows. So,
but he tried to cover it up though. What did he say? How did he explain that?
Okay, so he comes up to me. He's like, I didn't mean for you to find that Google search. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, my Google search? And he's just kind of like, yeah, well, like hot wife and the crotchless underwear. I was like, wait, that was your Google search? I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
Stupid.
Cinda does not know what can of worms she's opening at this moment. Like, she's just curious. She's wanting to know what's going on. So I was like, what do you mean? Like, and he's just kind of like, well, hot wife is where you register your girlfriend or your wife. And like, it's a whole community, just so you know, to watch people fuck your wife.
Yep.
I was like, hold the phone. You like to watch people fuck your wife, like,
or your girlfriend or something like that.
Or your girlfriend.
They're cucks. It's cuckold. It's an old term, cuckolding.
Yeah, he tried to claim that he was a stallion and his girl gonna.
Oh, he thought he was the stud. No, that's the thing. If you're the stud, you don't buy underwear that puts yourself down, like for your girl.
Yeah, he's like, whoa, and then he explained the underwear. He's like, it's just because like seeing that just makes me think I have to prove my point. I'm like,
yeah, because you're the cuck. Jeez, man. Like, dude, why would you look that up at work?
Why would you not just dismiss the situation? You had, and he gave me like a whole 2-hour like explanation on how he's done this. Well, first of all, he acted like a pro, and then he said he only did it once. And then he was like,
more people explain, the more guilty you know they are.
Yeah, he says he's like, and then just so you know, like, we do have to get STD checked. I'm like, I didn't ask.
Guys, stop, man. Like, you're making the sexual harassment lawsuit a lot easier.
You are TMIing too fucking much right now.
In the generation of TMI, you are over the line, buddy.
And then he was like, and I'm so scared, like, because, we have the iceberg, which is a pineapple.
Oh, that's right. That's the rewards, the points program in the Roosevelt. That's like their diamond membership. It's a pineapple. Some are a pineapple, and that's a pretty big one too. The pineapple is a pretty big rewards point system.
And he's like, "What if swingers come in here and they recognize me
from doing it once?" Like, dude, no.
I was like, "You're a liar, bro. Nobody's."
And he's a bad liar. My God, like, dude, what's wrong with you?
Nobody's gonna recognize you, dude. Like, nobody is gonna recognize you at all.
He would so overcompensate, and I noticed he would do that with me too. And he tried to get me in trouble a few times. It just didn't work out. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you?
No, because he would try to be okay. He gave me like half an ounce of weed one time, and he like gave me that shit, and I was like, give me that shit. I'm just kidding. And he was like, and I saw you being buddy with Tye. Don't forget who the enemy is here.
You're like, dude, get out of here.
I was like,
bro.
You already know we're cool. Like,
I know.
Get out of here. I never
cuck.
worked with anybody else.
I know, yeah, because we work PMs together. That was the thing.
Yeah.
When you're new at a hotel, you usually work the PM shift because that's the least desired shift. People like to work a normal 9 to 5 as much as possible. We worked weekends and evenings.
Yeah.
And, we were cool with that because that's where you make your money.
I was like, yeah, you were like one of the only there's only like you and 2 other people who would do PMs. So I was like, who is it today? Like, but I was used to all of them. So I was like, oh yeah, like I never had a problem.
Yeah, when he left, it was a relief. I'm like, fine, because you know what? He left, I think, because of that. It was one of those situations where he just felt really awkward because I think he knew you knew it was bullshit what he was saying, and I think he left.
He was fucking pissed. Yeah. He would be like, "You're a fucking light switch. You switch from left to right," and I was like, "I'm not switching from left to right." I was like, "I agree with you on situations," and I'm like, "But if I know you told me something, I was like, I'm gonna tell you. I know you're lying to me,"
yeah.
And he would be like, "Whatever," and I'm like.
He was manipulative, yeah. There was some really weird shit going on in his head. Like, yeah, he was such a weirdo.
He was weird.
But we had a lot of managers that were weird. Like of the 15 you mentioned, sometimes we'd have a manager for a few days. One of them was named. Well, I'm not going to name him, but he was there for a couple of days.
Okay, can you say what it starts with? I'll probably catch on.
S. He was there for 3 days. They had to escort him out because he drank the minibar. The whole minibar.
I never worked with him.
I did.
I never worked with him.
He was a weirdo.
I saw him in passing, though.
Poor
and
guy.
He would never, like, he always...
Mile a minute.
Yeah.
He had no self-control. He had no, like, he couldn't hold up.
What do you want?
And he's like, oh, you probably have this agent. I'm like, look, that's beside the point. Like, you need to calm down, dude. I would tell him, like, dude, just relax, man. He's like your little brother that's hyperactive. They just like my dogs that are just jumping on.
Energy drink to.
No, my God. Like, and I don't know how but they had to escort him off the property because he emptied the minibar.
Yes.
And he was just wasted. Security had to escort him off property because he was a temp. Because what'll happen is companies will have managers come in if you need them, one specific company, and they'll have them stay at the hotel until they get their lives together and get a room. I'm sorry, get an apartment somewhere or a place. And we had minibars then at the Roosevelt, pretty expensive minibars, and he emptied the whole thing in a couple days.
It was expensive because we like tripled the prices.
Well, yeah, that's the markup. The markup in hotels is ridiculous. Yeah, you want to pay $8 for M&Ms, you go right ahead.
Pretty much. Okay.
And like when people would switch out like the minibars, like, dude, get the right size. Then they don't know. Like, be smart about it, man.
Well, I mean, and it was so easy too. It wasn't Vegas with the sensors.
No. My first property had sensors. Yeah, my first
Yeah.
property had sensors, and that was also easy to write things off too. Like, oh, I had a bad time. Well, the free bottle of wine then that you took. But with the other one, but then we'd also have to do the mini bar report. That's what ticked me out too. We hated that with a passion. Oh my God. Explain what the mini bar was.
You literally would have to go through, and it was just this cluster of a billing that you would have to open each individual
folio.
And drag, a folio,
yeah.
Like it's like a receipt, and drag it to the room that it belonged to. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm sure minibar fucked it up a couple of times.
They should have had the minibar attendants do it because that was their job. But they would always put things on the front desk, and we'd be like, guys, we're not doing that. That's not our job.
I would always write the minibars off.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't give two shits. They'd be like, I didn't have that. I'd be like, whatever you say.
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my God.
Although there was one situation where like we did stick to our guns with the minibar, but
were they jerks though? Were some of the people jerks?
Well, we felt bad for him, but in the situation, like he signed. Okay, so it was this guy who brought a woman like to the hotel, and and they were like, first of all, I was selling the shit out of this room. And then they go, do you have an AARP discount?
First of all, do you want to be admitting that at the front desk? Do you really want to be like, can I get a senior citizen discount?
I'm like, let me go get the manager. Because I was new and I was like, you can deal with it from now. Like, so whatever, she gets him in a room because I was selling the fuck out of this room and now I'm mad because I just lost my sale. Okay, with the AARP discount, I do not get commission.
No.
So he gets up into the room and a couple hours later, he comes down to the front desk and he's like, the lady in my room is going crazy. Look what she did. And he hands out, like, he shows me some busted glasses. Like, this motherfucker is walking around the Roosevelt like Velma. Like,
Velma?
Where are my glasses?
Oh my God.
And I am like, oh my like, and he's like, oh, I want her out of the room. I'm gonna leave for a couple of hours. Like, you need to tell security. But the thing is that he put her on the room.
Oh shit! For names on the room, see that, but I mean, he could always take her off, right?
Yeah,
if he wanted to, but it's just more complicated.
So it was kind of a situation to where security was just kind of standing by, like watching, like, let's see what happens.
Because they're not cops; they can't just pull somebody out of a room.
Yeah. So, and they're like, so I don't know, like he left for a little bit, and while he was gone, this woman brings another guy.
Was I here for this? That sounds familiar.
Were you?
Was I might have been there for that.
I don't think so because
I heard about it after. I
Yes.
wasn't there. I heard about it
Yeah,
after.
and the manager was like took that shit out on me too. Like I had something to do with it. I was like, so
with the senior citizen? Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know a senior citizen was gonna. We'll get to so the lady brings in another guy, and eventually the guy comes back, and he's like, the girl is in the room with another guy. Now he's got to go. I'm here, and the security's like, you're here. Okay, let's actually get them fucking out.
And for clarity, this was not the cuck manager.
This is not the. Yeah,
this is another situation.
This is a fucking guest, like a guest who's paying for this shit. So then the security comes and he's like, okay, I'm gonna escort you to the room, and he's like, I just want to give you a heads up, we did see her go into the room with another guy. And he's like, I just want her out. I just want her out. So they're knocking on the room. They have that shit deadbolted. Like, there's a whole procedure if it's deadbolt. Like,
on the
if
inside.
it's, yeah, that they have to do in order to,
because there's a tool they have to use to get in there. Sometimes you have to break the door.
Yeah, to, like, get in there. So now they're waiting because they're like, do we want to break this door for some guy who...
Because the guest is... If you have us break a door down for you in a hotel, you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
Automatically, you're billed. Yeah.
So... security leaves and they're like, oh, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And he's like at the front desk, like, I just don't want to see her. I don't want to see her. And we see this girl leave with the guy. Like, she has this big old duffel bag too.
Wonder how much of our minibar was in that.
All of the minibar.
Do you remember how much? Because they did a total. They tallied it up one day. How much is one of the minibars all together with all the stuff? Is it like $1,300?
It was for sure $1,500.
Yeah, $1,500.
And that he did come in the next day because they did not tell him. Like, he kind of thought that we was just gonna say fuck it or something.
Let it go. Yeah.
He came in with the bill the next day. He's like, you remember me? I'm like,
yes, AARP.
Yes. I'm like, all right, Velma was good.
Velma.
I was like, okay, let me see. And then, I mean, he had her name on the room. You put your card down. You left her unsupervised in your room.
You got to be careful who you bring back with you. That's the thing. If it's a party, if it's a hooker, because at Sofitel, and this happened at Roosevelt too, I think, guys are bringing hookers or women of the night, professionals, or temporary girlfriends, whatever we can call them.
Our ATM was drained.
Yeah, and guys would be running out like the girls would have maced them, take their... I remember one guy was like, yeah, she waited till I was in the shower, took my wallet, my pants, and then ran. And, we're like, well, what do you want us to do, man? You're the one that brought in the woman.
Okay, so I remember that there was a guy who basically, so he came, and if you don't, like, at the Roosevelt, the front desk is right here, and there's a hallway. You enter from over here, and the hallway goes to the cabana. And there's 2 stairs that you have to go to get to the front desk. And then there's that fucking clear glass with the plants on top of it. Yeah. That you can see right through there. So I see this motherfucker, like...
His feet, you can literally see their feet in their head.
I can see his feet in this little hat, just trailing. And
it's never good. It's never good.
Exactly. And the thing was, I was the only one at the front desk at this time too. And go figure. And I see it, and I'm like, the am I about to get into? Because I already know. I see someone charging down that hallway.
Yeah, it's never to say thanks for something nice, like, that's a great room.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. So he comes charging from the cabanas, and the 2 stairs, he goes...
Oh, no.
This motherfucker spider monkeys off these stairs.
Spider monkeys.
He comes down, he's like... And then he lands, and he comes running up. Dude, some little white boy, like, out of Malibu's Most Wanted. I hope you saw that shit. Like,
oh, my God.
So... And he comes up and he's like, who gave you permission to give a key to my room? I'm like, because I just clocked in. Right.
Yeah, I know. I love that too. You just clock in and somebody else's problems fall right into your lap.
I'm like, sir, I did not cut no keys to your room. Like, and he's like, somebody cut a key to my room and I have $10,000 missing. I'm like, he's like, $10,000 cash. First of all.
Look, drug dealer.
Why are you rolling around with $10,000 cash? Whatever. I'm like, you shouldn't be flaunting it anyway. Yeah. But
it was for Instagram cred. Like, shut up, dude.
Like, and he's like, $10,000 got taken. He's like, someone cut an extra key, and the girl that came to my room took it. I'm like, and I look, and in the beginning there were 2 keys cut. Now I'm not gonna fabricate this story. There was an extra key cut sometime after that. And the situation was that the front desk agent that cut the key said the girl came up saying that the guy was freaking out on her, treating her like shit, and she just wanted to get her shit and leave. So he cut a key. He did cut a key. But at this point, I was like, you could have technically given her a key at the beginning, though. Yeah. 2 keys were cut. So I was just like, sir, like, I did not cut any keys. He's like, who gave you permission? And he's just like in my face, like, who gave you permission? And I was like, nobody gave me permission because I didn't cut no keys. Like, I'm like, first of all, like, kind of like tone it down when you're talking to me.
Right.
And so I was kind of giving him the go around because a little bit, not too much. A little bit. But I was like, I didn't cut no keys. And I was like, sir, there were 2 keys cut in the beginning. And then I just wanted to find out what was going on with the situation.
Yeah.
I was like, please. I was like, I need to be calling security. If $10,000 was missing,
anything,
I would be calling the cops.
Yeah.
I would not be out here yelling at some front desk agent. I would be calling the cops.
Or ask for security.
And especially because you know who the girl is. You know who stole your money. So I was like, sir, just let me go get a manager because I have no idea like what's going on with the situation.
And technically in hotels, unless somebody's name is on the reservation or they cue you in, you're not supposed to cut keys, to be honest.
Yes.
And like it could fall back on the hotel for that, because honestly, if somebody did cut a key after the fact, but the thing is, it's a gray area.
But let me say that also the front desk agent did check them in and that cut the extra key for the woman and saw them both together. So
there's that too.
And also, like, if someone comes at you with like that kind of scenario, some people have empathy, and clearly he did. Yeah. So he cut her the key. He cut her the key, and I went to the back and I was like, yo, what the like, why'd you, like, this guy's up here, like, you cut the key, it says you cut the key, you're gonna get it, like, but I'm just like freaking out because I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, she said this and this to me, like, she said that he was like being abusive to her and she just wanted to leave. And I was like, guys, like, well, I don't know, like. And so I tell the manager, and the manager, I actually have a little bit of recording of like when the manager who actually got let go on furlough, he went out there to talk to him. And he was like, sir, I need to know what's happening, who's the woman, like, if someone stole $10,000 I would be calling the cops right now. And he's like, we need to call security, like, he's like, and so he calls security instantly. Security's like almost on the scene, like,
they were
just
quick
right
there.
there. He was like right there. He's like, no, I want to know who, like, he was just stuck on who cut the fucking key.
Don't you want your money back? Like, don't you want to start that process?
Yeah, start the process. Like, you're already 10 steps behind. Like, get on top of it. Like, and you left the woman in the room with your $10,000 cash.
Yeah.
So they go to the room, actually, because the security's like, no, we're going to the room right now.
And why wouldn't you put that in the safe?
He says, we're going to the room right now. Like, he's like, no, I want to know. You guys need to take responsibility. We need to file a claim. $10,000 was in the safe in the room.
Idiot.
No, I believe he was trying to do a whole scamming thing.
Yeah.
Trying to get that $10,000 from the fucking Roosevelt. Trying to get that shit compensated. Like, you literally left it in the safe.
Yeah, exactly. You think we're just going to let that go? Not our first rodeo, buddy.
Yeah.
People, that's the thing with and we were talking about that earlier off camera, that you have to have a certain amount of empathy when you work in hospitality, because there's a lot of stories. Yesterday, I had somebody, I had a really sad story about someone whose husband basically broke up with them and said, I want nothing to do with you after 30 years of marriage, on the phone in front of me. And I'm just like, oh boy.
You want a teddy bear?
I know, like, yeah, that's the one thing, the cool thing about the Roosevelt, we had teddy bears. Unfortunately, I don't at my new property, but she was with her 17-year-old daughter, and poor thing, they're from Canada, and she'd worked hard to try and put her daughter through school. It was just this whole thing, and I'm just like, sometimes you come through, you go through that.
God, men are such trash.
Oh my God! But at the same time, there's two sides to every story. I want to say that, but from what I saw, poor thing, she'd been through a lot. But you get stories like that all the time, and some are genuine, and some are people just trying to scam you and lie because they don't want to pay for the room, they don't want to pay for their incidentals, they don't want to pay for something because people just try to wiggle out of stuff. I know it's expensive to travel, but my God.
And yeah, I would agree that, like, traveling, that's where they take the most advantage of you.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, especially in this country. Like in America, there are so many hidden fees, and the third-party sites and even the legitimate, like through the hotel sites, won't usually tell you everything you owe. My advice, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast too. I mean, our stories are hilarious and interesting, but to tell people that call the hotel, ask the front desk directly what the charges are going to be if you're curious or if you're going to have to spend a certain amount only. know before you even get on that plane, because there's so many things we hit you with. Like your bill will probably, on average, God, I'm thinking about it now. Your bill is probably going to be on average 20% more than you think it's going to be by the time you check out. And that's without going through room service. Those are just the city taxes. And the city I work in now, which is Santa Monica, actually charges more than California state tax. I didn't know that. They charge over
15?
They charge over 10%. And California, I think, is around 9 at this point in 2023.
I'm pretty sure Hollywood's like 13.
Is it really?
I think like 12 or 13.
God, I don't know how cities can get away with that. That's crazy. How can you charge more tax than, but anyway, that happens. Always call the hotel that you're going to stay at, always, no matter what. Even if you're like, oh no, I've been there before. Things change and fees change. And if you're working with a budget or you're working with a company that's only going to clear you for a certain amount, understand how much you're going to pay. If it's direct billed, if it's going to be IPO, which means you pay the whole amount, and your credit card is simply being used for to hold the room. But then once you get there, we have to clear that card, the digital card, and put your card down for the whole amount when you thought you already prepaid. If you're just covering incidentals, these are all the things people don't realize, because we're not taught how to travel, to be honest. And in other countries especially, it's different. But here in the States, you have to have a legitimate form of ID, and if your ID is messed up or out of date, we can't take that, even if it's 2 days out. You're like, oh, it expired 2 days ago. It's not legitimate.
You would check the IDs?
Huh?
You check the IDs?
I mostly check the IDs. Yes, I check the IDs. Yes, if my management is watching.
No, thank you. I was going to say, if I ever checked your ID, if you remember me and I ever checked your ID, it's because my manager was standing right next to me, okay?
She can say that because she's not in hotels anymore.
Okay,
No, but there are certain things you learn. The problem with the states is there's 50 states, 50 different IDs. So it's like you got to learn where everything is, and you're just like, oh, okay.
I would never be able to tell if it was fake. I think I think I did.
It would have to be a really bad fake for me.
I was going to say, I think I saw a fake one time, and it said like a different county, but it was like a city in LA. I was like,
you're like, this is in the middle of the ocean, sir.
I was like, I don't know California that well to call it out,
This could be Avalon. That's not real. Wait a minute. Paso Robles. Nice try, hombre. No. Yes. But so experiences vary from person to person, but we all kind of go through the same thing. And I think at Roosevelt, what I wanted to talk about with my people from Roosevelt that are going to come on the show is there's always, it's because I have a list of topics and questions. And one of them was always, if you've worked in multiple hotels, because you've only worked in the one hotel, right? One hotel. So this is funny that this happened to you in the one hotel, because I think you always, if you've worked in multiple hotels, have a point where you find your people. And what I mean by that is you find your group where you either suffer the same way together, or you just kind of click and you guys drink, laugh, cry, party, and do all that together. It's a moment in time, because turnaround in hotels is so rapid and continuous that you never stay in the same place for very long usually. And I found that at the Roosevelt. It wasn't at the Sofitel. When I was at the Sofitel, it had happened before I got there, where the whole people that were still there remember when they had their clique and they were their people. And I think it's because we suffered so much at the front desk and we went through so much nonsense constantly that it bonded us together. There were times when we hated each other's guts and we were just coming in, we wanted to strangle one another because of something someone did or something messed up or a manager screwed something up. We had to take the blame, whatever it is, but even though we did all that, and there were times where we couldn't stand each other and we would ignore each other and do all that, we would still stand up for each other. Because I remember, you and I, or you and somebody else, or me and somebody else, we would always have these issues. But as front desk agents, we would always back each other's play, because we knew each other well enough to be like, they're like, oh, Cinda did this. I'm like, Cinda didn't do that. She didn't say that. I go, I know her well enough to know her work ethic and to know her habits, especially if it was about money. I'm like, she's not going to waste money, dude. What's wrong with you? The way hotels work is this. The sales teams will try to sell, and this is every hotel, 5-star hotel. It doesn't matter how wealthy you have to be there. Yeah. All sales teams will do is sell 3 times as many of the cheapest room they have. So, because the goal of a sales team, remember, is this in a hotel, to do a perfect sell, which means they sell every room. And that's where everybody gets bonuses, and it's just, it is what it is. But
they all get cashed out.
So, but to do that, they have to sell the cheapest room they have at 3 times the amount. So what happens then? That means everybody gets upgraded up the line, because we just don't have that many rooms.
They would oversell the queen and king beds by 20.
Yeah, at least.
So that's 40 people who we have to try to upgrade, or if not, they get it free.
Because they get it free no matter what, because we have to move them to make it
no
a
matter
more perfect
what,
sale.
Somebody has to get moved.
Yeah.
So we can try to upsell you, but if we don't, you get a free upgrade.
And that's why when people check you in and they're like, hey, I got you this free upgrade, the agent usually didn't get you the free upgrade. And after a while, I started upgrading people for free because I'm just like, bunk this shit. Because the unethical way, especially with the second oath with Roosevelt, what they would do is they would do that, and they would also downgrade people without telling them. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Or like, oh, you got a suite? Tough.
I would never deal with the downgrades. Never. I would always get a manager and tell them they have to deal with that because there was no reason for it.
If we would have a nicer room, I would upgrade them to the suite. I remember a German traveler. I remember this distinctly because he's like, I ordered this, and he was there for 2 weeks, 14 nights. He was there for 14 nights, and they had sent him a text message. Oh yeah, our bad. Sorry. You can always cancel. He was already in the States. He was traveling from Germany in.
There's nothing he could do.
And there's nothing you can do. Like when you're here already, what are you going to do? Oh yeah, cancel. I'll try to find something else. And there are nights in town, in LA and in any major city where there are events going on, or there's just business meetings like crazy, and every major hotel is sold out. And you have a hell of a time trying to find a room. And I'm like, what is this poor guy going to do? So I got him into a better suite for those 2 weeks. I'm like, you know what? Because I would get so angry. I'm like, it's unethical for me when you oversell like that. When you oversell like you oversell a plane, it's the same thing. Because you want to have a perfect sale. So and what happens is people have to get walked. People have to get downgraded against their will, and they have no rights to anything else. So I gave him that, and he goes, and I would after a while, I'd commiserate with the guests. I'm like, I hate when my company does this. I'm sorry. But for that, and I would either give them huge amounts of food and beverage credits. Hella. Like $200, $250 sometimes. I'd give $300 sometimes, depending on how badly they were screwed over. And if we had the suites available, I'd swap them out into a suite. I'm like, okay, you're going to get a bigger room for the time you're here for free. And I remember he told me, it always stuck with me. He goes, this is just me being pissed off doing something that should have been done in the first place for this guy. And he goes, if there were more people like you in the world would be a better place. I said, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And it was just, it wasn't anything big, but it was just something that made his vacation a little better, but something that, kind of righted the wrong of corporate.
Oh, there was one time that they tried to downgrade Saucy Santana. And he came to check in, and I was like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, I'm not. I was like, so I went in because he was having a 4 or 5 day stay. And they were trying to downgrade him, and I was like, I'm not. This is someone who has like 1 million plus followers on Instagram. I was like, I'm not gonna downgrade this person. Like, I was like, you need to go out there. We need to figure out something to do. So he did end up getting a Roosevelt suite, but only for 2 days, and then they moved him back into a king suite. It's just the whole like having to even move like at all during your stay. You want to be there. You're there vacationing. You don't want to like pack your shit up and have to switch it again. Like,
because people would lay out, man. They put all their stuff out. It is like they're at home.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen some rooms. We've seen some stuff. Oh, my God. But, and it is
you were supposed to leave 3 hours ago. And
I know. Your crap is all in the... And the thing is, when you're in a room and your stuff's not packed up, legally, we can't touch your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. So, like...
So we can't touch that stuff, guys.
We can't touch it. Legally, it's illegal for us to touch anything in a room that, even if you're overstaying, you're welcome. What we'll do is we'll just charge you for an extra night. So,
this is true.
And the thing is, if you don't pay a hotel bill, or if you're delinquent, or your card stops going through authorizing, what hotels will do is, if you have a car, they'll hold your car hostage. Like, they won't give you your keys. That's why we have a valet. So, like, how many times people are like, valet won't give me my keys? Yes, because your credit card stopped working, fool.
Yeah, we would have the keys at the desk.
They were like, that's right. I forgot we would have the key. They would bring the keys to the desk. They're like 522. They refuse. Their card's not going through, and we haven't seen them for 6 hours, and they're supposed to check out 2 hours ago. So we would have their stuff. So be prepared, guys. If you don't pay or your card stops working for whatever reason,
we got your car.
We got your car.
We got your car.
We'll send you a headlight every 2 hours. Just to make sure we got it. But yeah, now there's a lot. There's so much in hospitality that goes on, but. Do you find, and this is one of the things I wanted to ask too, because it was something I paid attention to over time because of how many angry entitled guests we get. Has it made you, do you think being in hospitality and being in customer service in general has made you a better customer to other people in the industries?
Yes, it has. I find myself just a lot like biting my tongue, just being like, you've been there. But it's also like a thing where I know when shit's up.
Yeah.
I know when shit, like, come on.
Have you ever been in a situation where you want to react a certain way, but then you're like, you start reasoning, like the hospitality reasoning, where you're like, their manager probably sucks. Like,
too many times.
Yeah. Now that reminded me of something. This will probably be the last thing we talk about in this one until we get you back for another one.
Yeah.
Because God, there's just so much.
I know.
But rude guests, and I've talked about this ad nauseum with my coworkers at every hotel I've stayed at, and it seems to be common sense. If you're kind when you walk in and you're patient, even if things are going wrong, we'll bend over backwards to help you out. We'll give you hundreds of dollars of food and beverage credit, drink credit. We'll, comp upgrades. We'll give you the best rooms we can if we have them available. But if you're an asshole, if you're a jackass to us and you're just entitled or really impatient and you don't have any right to be, let's say you're trying to check in before check-in time when our rooms aren't even clean, and you're just kind of a dick about it, we're not going to help you out, and we can actually do the opposite. I had somebody come in from the Jimmy Kimmel Show. I would just want to tell this story. So somebody from the Jimmy Kimmel Show came in. He was part of their crew, and he was a real prick. I mean, the guy was a little asshole, like little man syndrome. And he goes, his room wasn't ready. And of course, hotels are generally understaffed when it comes to housekeeping. So your rooms are rarely going to be ready by 3, especially if it's in a busy day. And, that's the problem. But he came up to me. He was a dick. And he was very rude. And he's like, I want my room and da-da-da and brr. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir, we have nothing ready for you right now. And he was just being, just angry. And like, he goes, I am not a nice person and blah, blah, blah. I go, do you think I enjoy this? I go, do I look like a masochist to you? I go, do you think this is fun for me? I go, your room will be ready when it's ready. Please have a seat. And then
you made him your son.
Oh my God. I made him sit.
His son.
And then guess what? So like our managers they have a camera at Roosevelt. They had a camera where they could look, and there's TV
a
screens.
Hotel Cecil camera.
Yeah. So there's CCTV cameras. I know, snitch cameras, but the managers can see on the screen. They can see what you're doing, so they can keep track of the desk. So, manager, one of the managers that's not there anymore. She went to engineering after, but she was a front desk manager.
Okay. AGM.
It came through, and the room flipped to green, or the room flipped to clean and ready to go. I made that motherfucker wait another 20 minutes. I'm like, and I looked up at the camera, and then I looked back down because she knew who I was dealing with. I looked back down, just went on with my work, waited like 20 minutes to another half hour, and then I just got I'm like, keys ready? Your room's ready, sir. Enjoy. I slapped it on the desk. He came, swiped it like a little bitch, and then just walked off to the elevators. And then and then she came out. She's like, did you make him wait another 20 minutes? I go, yes, I did. And she goes, good for you. Because he was a prick to everybody.
Dude.
But he was like real small dick energy kind of a thing. But he was one of the crew for Jimmy Kimmel. And I'm just like, Jimmy, you really need to work on who you hire, man. Because that guy was a piece of shit.
Do you not think that in Hollywood, it's always the motherfuckers that are like, you don't know who I am. You don't know who I am. Who aren't jack shit.
I know. That's why we don't know who you are, because you're nothing, you dumbass.
Dude, we would always, at Mastro's, we would look up people's net worth. If someone ever hit us with that shit, we would look up your net worth.
I know.
And be like,
you can Google that now so easily. We're like, yeah, dude, you need to tone it down. You don't make enough money to talk to me that way.
For real. Dude, I was like...
Oh, that reminds me. There was one time, I don't know if you ever, like, with angry guests, this one woman was okay. She was like, probably in her, like, it was 3:00 on the dot, and rooms are supposed to be ready there by 3 at the Roosevelt. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, your room's not ready yet. And it's awkward for us. We don't want to just be like, yeah, tough shit. We just be like, we hate that too, because we know the guarantee is 3:00. We want to get you in if we can. So she's like, oh, okay. She walks in the back, and there's a line. And I heard her say something to someone, and then there was a guy that goes, no, that's bullshit. And I can hear, you learn to use your peripherals, and you can hear what's going on.
So you can hear danger coming so you can run away.
Exactly, or prep for it. So like he was like, no, that's bullshit. No, let's get. So they got back and like, we're getting in line. We're talking to him. I'm like, here it comes. And I'm like, I'm going to prep for it. So then I'm checking in this other guy, knowing what's coming. And finally, this guy, he looked like something out of a Hell's Angels reject. Skinny 50, 60-year-old white dude, long, scraggly blonde hair, beard. And he comes up, and before that fool can even say anything, I just went... And I cracked,
dude,
and then
the ASMR on that was amazing.
You can hear it. And I just rounded my shoulders, and I looked up, and I go, how can I help you? And he stopped, and you can see when somebody's soul leaves their body. And he was like, can you help us find a room? I went, and I turned it back, and I'm like, sure, yeah, no worries. And then something else had popped up my hair. Let me get you into this one, guys. I put on the customer service charm, and they were totally cool. But I'm telling you, there were times I almost went to jail. There were times at the front desk, like the one manager we were talking about before on camera, she had to jump on me. I don't know if you were there for that, because one of these idiots during Super Bowl.
The one with the bad hair.
Could have been.
Blonde bad hair. Bob.
Yes.
Yeah.
She literally leapt on me.
The one that wet the bed.
No. This is another one. Okay. No, not the one that wet the bed. Oh, that's okay.
Oh.
That's gonna be another episode. That's gonna be another episode because that's a whole other rabbit hole. She had a thing, and oh my god. But
the other one.
This other manager.
Yeah, she yelled. Yeah, she's crazy.
Because one guy, so let me get to it. There was a guy who was pointing at one of the girls, one of the front desk agents, one of y'all, and it wasn't you. It was one of the other girls, brunette, that was there, and he goes, "You better watch yourself." And I was paying attention. She wasn't doing anything disrespectful.
She turned into one of those hissing lizards.
I know, right? She didn't do anything. But I threw my jacket off. I'm like, "Hey!" And I literally was. And then I threw my jacket. I'm like, "Today's the day I go to jail." And then she just ran and leapt onto me sideways. And she's like, "Tye, no!" And she literally, like, her arms.
Spider monkeyed your ass.
She like literally, like, her leg almost went. She almost like tried to tackle me because even though I was behind the desk, I would have leapt over that shit and knocked him in the throat. You know what I mean? It was one of those, and it was one of those days that was bad enough. But there were situations like that where I'm like, dude, I could be in jail right now for beating the shit out of this man.
Dude, I'll never forget that one time that you was like, the one guy, he was at the front desk. He's like, "You guys are a bunch of idiots. Nobody knows where I'm going. Yeah. Like, you guys don't know what to tell me anything." And
when, like, he was wrong. He was the one.
We
wrong.
were all sitting there like, "No, like, we asked you that." Like, we were all there. Like, yeah. We asked you and you said no, and now you're saying yes. Like, and then one of the bellmen was like, "I'll just show you, sir." And then you were like, "No, I'm gonna show you." Like, and he walks him over and dude, what did you say to him?
Okay, so like what he did was he's like he was at an event in our penthouse. He was a friend of the GM. He was a friend of the GM's too, and they were having this big event in the penthouse, which is like a 3-story full roof access room. It goes for $6,000 a night, and he was giving us the wrong name of the event, and we're like, we can't find the event, so we don't know. And we found out later on that it was the event in the penthouse, and we're like, yeah, sir, we'll take you right up. And he was on the phone with somebody, and he goes, "Yeah, well, these idiots couldn't help me," and da-da-da. And he started walking away. I go, "Excuse me, guys." Walked around. I go, "Excuse me, sir, let me walk you over to the elevators." And I walked over. I go, we're trying to help. I'm so sorry it was an inconvenience for you. I go, "But we don't appreciate being called idiots. Don't do that again." And then I walked away, and I literally turned and walked away. And then I could just hear him from behind me go, "Whoa." And then one of our bellmen then goes, "Let me help you up, sir." And then he walked over to him. I love him. One of the guys, one of the bellmen were awesome there. And he walked him to the elevator, and he took him up to the penthouse because you need a special code in the elevator to get there.
The code is.
Right, we might have to stay there someday.
Yeah, no. I like to keep that in one in my back pocket.
Exactly. You never know. But he goes all the way up. He's like, "The gall of that front desk agent." The gall.
Oh, dude! And the bellman came back. He was like, "Yo, which one of you pissed him off?"
I'm like, "Right here, buddy. Right here."
You know what's funny too is like the GM. You know how we had beef. Whenever a guest had an issue, I would always give out his email.
I swear. That's so funny.
It caught up one time because I was about ready to clock out. And this guest was so quick about writing that email because no manager, I asked a manager like 3 times, like, "Can you come to the front? Can you come to the front?" And he was like, no, I can't. So I was like, "Okay, like, here's the GM's email. He's really understanding. Make sure you write him something lengthy, da-da-da." And I did it to every guest, but this guest was quick about it. And he got that letter, like, he sent it, and this guest ended up getting, like, an upgrade, food and beverage credit, like a right-away check-in, because the GM does not want to handle that shit. But the whole thing was that they were like, "Who the gave out email?" And I was like, "I need to go clock out.
I'm done. I'll tell you next time."
But there was another manager who knew, the creepy one. He knew I was doing that shit, so he like pulled me aside. He's like, "You know what kind of like mess you left us, and you just went and clocked out?" And I was just like, "Hey." He's like, "But you should have got a manager." I was like, "Yo,
I got the best manager. I got the GM involved." he's the Uber
I was like,
manager.
"How was that guest, huh?" I was like, "Maybe y'all start paying attention when I say I need help out front." Like,
yep, that's right. And you know, that's the crazy thing. Like, we got an email after I did this too, because I would get ticked off at the accounting screw ups and things like that, and people were like, "I was overcharged," and blah blah blah. And I'm like, "You know what? Here, let me transfer you."
Half the time they were. You really were.
Yeah, you got to really check your bill.
Yeah.
But I would transfer them to the head of accounting, and they're like, "Stop sending." They're like, and the next day, later that day, I think he sent an email out like, "Stop sending me calls."
Yes.
Well, then stop screwing up people's folios, buddy.
Oh, but there was like someone back in reservations. Like, I heard that you weren't a fan of them, so you kept sending the calls back there.
Which one? Fan of reservations? When we had reservations?
Yeah, not the ginger, but the female.
Probably. Oh my God. Maybe so. Oh,
I know once I tell you that name that you're going to be like, yes, I did.
Oh, probably. No, I was not above some petty actions. I'm telling you, like, look, because it wasn't my job to answer phones. I'm the one that made them get reservations again, because after the pandemic, they didn't want to bring it back.
Yeah,
they wanted us to answer the
getting
phones.
it. We're not getting it.
We're not understaffed. We are totally understaffed. What is wrong with you? Yeah.
And then they were going to get phones, and they got rooms control, who just fucked everything up.
Yeah, I know. Because they didn't know what they were doing either until they were
And then they were like, you know
months.
how annoying it is that you guys come back and like ask me to move all these rooms around? I was like, you know how annoying it is that I did your job before you? And now I have to ask for permission?
Exactly. Now they're blocking us from that in our system. Come on, get out of here. All right. Okay. Well, look, I wish we had more time for this, but I got to have you back.
Yes.
There's so much more. We have so many stories.
We only hit 25%.
If even that. Because watch, when you drive home, you're going to remember all other shit. And you're like, oh, write it down. Like,
yeah, I was writing shit down too. Don't forget this. Don't forget that. Like,
is there anything you wanted to talk about specifically that we didn't hit?
I think we got most of it. I got a couple of stories in that I knew that was like good. But if like there's other shit I wanted to talk about, it's gonna be we're gonna run too much time.
I know. Like we gotta start talking about all the ladies, people that hit on you at the front desk. Like,
dude, yeah, no, you too, Tye.
that was my nickname. That's right. Hey, I don't know who started that.
Podcaster, can you hand me that silver bag real quick?
Oh no. Oh God. Dun 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 dun.
Me, sorry. Yes, I don't mean to call him podcaster.
No, it's all right.
Please
what?
Open this.
No.
I got you a little something.
Oh my God.
It's kind of a gag gift, but I've been dying to get this for you for like 2 years.
Oh shit. Oh my God, guys. This was not scripted. This was not planned.
This is not planned at all. Okay.
There's a lot of shiny paper in here. No! Oh my! Where did you get this made?
It is a Tye.
Oh my God! It is a Tye. I'll show the camera this right now. Oh my! There's more in here.
There's a little.
Oh,
little
that
tree,
is great! Look at that.
Tree.
Oh,
Okay,
these are great. All right, so this is a God. This is you took something from my Instagram. I gotta wear this the next time you're here. Where is that? Can you?
It is
It's literally a picture of me during the pandemic when I had a little bit of a beard behind an old setup.
No, because I love the Star Wars movies that he has presented in the beginning of it. Is that what it is?
So for those who don't know, these are the despecialized editions. It's a 9-disc set that I don't know if you can find anymore, but it was a despecialized set of the original films taken from original 35mm prints. These are fan edits of the originals to make them back. This is amazing. Thank you so much. My God, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We're gonna have you back for sure. Now I got to get you a tie.
A tie. It's gonna be a tie.
That was my nickname. I don't remember who started that, but yeah, it was.
It was like some lady who called you Tye, and I just took it from there. I was like Tye. And every
appreciate
time,
that.
No, that one German girl.
Oh, with that one.
I don't know if she called you Tye, but
Oh,
I
she
know like
did.
every time she came around, I'd be like Tye.
Yeah, she was an influencer that had like a million followers. That's right.
Yeah, she was good.
Look, when it comes to pretty girls at the desk, like I'm like whatever about it, because I'm just like, it's my job, whatever. Because girls try to get stuff for free. I'm just like, yeah, give me my money, $100.
She gave him the cake.
She brought me a cake, and she would look for me. The thing is, she would come look for me and ask for me. She would get
she would.
She would stay for weeks on end, and then we'd get keys, and would come to me directly, and would literally like get keys every day, duplicates of like 3 or 4 times a day.
I think that she was comfortable because she would come and ask me. She'd be like, "When is Tye working again?" Like, I think it's because we always working together.
Yeah, we went out. Yeah, we went out before. Yeah, after that, it was interesting. But more on that later.
We got way more.
We got so much more. But it was a blast having you on.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh my God, I was so happy.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said yes to coming on, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Inhospitality Podcast. There's more to come. Please check out. We'll throw up your all your Instagram and all your stuff.
Yes, I was like, look for it. I'm gonna be for sure TikToking that shit.
That's right. That's right.
Shout
out your stuff.
_ Simba _ 23. Okay, both Instagram and TikTok. That's where you can find me. Okay.
That's right. Go find her. She's amazing, and she's hilarious too. I swear to God, working with her, we would crack up. We would be on the floor. Oh my God. We would be on the floor, but I look forward to working with you in this aspect of, again, now that we have an open forum where we can discuss all the craziness. But thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.